Greetings and welcome back to our channel, where we fuse timeless Eastern insights with cutting-edge Western science to empower you to flourish beyond 60. Today's episode might just be a lifesaver, as countless seniors face strokes annually, often blindsided with no forewarning. What if the earliest clues were right under your nose? What if routine morning habits, ones you've practiced for years, were silently skyrocketing your stroke risk? This is one of the most critical messages I share with my patients over 60. Strokes don't strike out of the blue. The warning signs are present, the triggers are there, and with proper awareness, prevention is possible. But the risks often emerge early, frequently at the start of your day. This topic really resonates. When we think of strokes, we imagine something sudden and dramatic, a collapse, garbled speech, or a paralyzed face. But you're saying the true red flags often appear subtly, sneaking up in moments we overlook. While brushing our teeth, lacing up shoes, or pouring that morning coffee. Before we dive in, I ask for 2 quick actions. First, for your health. If you want to protect your brain and lower your stroke risk after 60 with the right habits and awareness, subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up, and comment, "I want a healthy brain." This small step will reinforce your commitment to a more active, protected life. Second, an act of care. Share this episode with someone you love. Knowing early stroke signs and morning habits that make a difference can safeguard heart and brain health. Sharing this knowledge gives your loved ones a chance to live longer and healthier. Cherishing every moment together. Let's dive in. Absolutely. This discussion is crucial because it's not only about crises. It's about the subtle hints that appear first, the warnings your body gives before a stroke occurs. In this episode, we'll highlight those early indicators that most overlook. We'll also examine the worst morning routines I notice in older adults that quietly increase stroke risk. Some may shock you. Let me be clear, the final 2 are the most hazardous and most overlooked. So if you're over 60 or care for someone who is, stick with us until the end. This isn't just about prevention, it's about safeguarding. Every adjustment we cover today could be the difference between a typical morning and a life-changing moment. What's the initial symptom patients should be aware of? It's not pain or lightheadedness, but something much less obvious and, for that reason, far riskier. For many older adults, the earliest clear indicator of a stroke is an abrupt change in coordination. You go to grab your toothbrush, but your hand doesn't quite connect. You take a sip of tea, and a bit dribbles out. You try buttoning your shirt, and your fingers feel off, not paralyzed, not numb, just wrong. These aren't dramatic symptoms. That's why they're ignored, but they're neurological. Your brain controls every smooth movement. So when something feels clumsy, slow, or uncoordinated, it's not aging, it's a potential blood flow disruption. Have you seen this in a patient? A 74-year-old retired accountant, sharp as a tack, told me, "I'm dropping my keys more often. My wife noticed I struggle with buttons. It seemed like arthritis." But he'd also had an episode days earlier where, writing a grocery list, he couldn't recall how to spell milk. A total blank, no headache, no slurring, but something was off. A CT scan showed he'd had a minor TIA transient ischemic attack that week. The next 48 hours were critical. He adjusted his meds, improved his diet, monitored blood pressure and hydration. He never had a full stroke because he caught the signal. That's the point, right? Catch it before it's irreversible. Exactly. A Lancet neurology study tracked TIA patients and found the first 48 hours were the highest risk window if patients got care in that time. The risk of a major stroke dropped by over 80%. That's how fast you need to act and how quickly you can change the outcome. It's sobering but also empowering because it means awareness. Simply noticing something's off can literally save your brain. Yes, but only if you know what to look for and when. Let's talk about that when. You said the most dangerous time for a stroke isn't during a stressful day. It's actually first thing in the morning. Why? Because your brain wakes up before you do. For most people over 60, the first hour after opening your eyes is when your body is most vulnerable. Here's why. Overnight, your body dehydrates. You haven't drunk water for 6 to 8 hours. Your blood thickens slightly, cortisol, The stress hormone spikes at dawn, and for many seniors, blood pressure follows. This creates a perfect storm: thick blood, narrowed vessels, and a pressure surge through aging arteries. And how most people start their day: rushed, distracted, with bad habits, and you've set up an environment where stroke risk quietly triples. Let's dive into those habits, because I know some will feel familiar. Too many listeners, that's the point, right? Yes, they're common, cultural, even convenient. But after 60, convenience can be costly. The first is the most overlooked: skipping water. Most seniors wake up and head straight for coffee. Maybe they brush their teeth, check their phone, pour a cup, and start the day, but they don't drink water. That's a mistake, one of the biggest. After 8 hours of sleep, your blood is like a dry sponge. This increases viscosity, blood thickness, and thick blood flows slower, clots easier, and stresses your heart and brain. A European Journal of Neurology study found low morning hydration was a factor in 48% of first-time ischemic strokes, nearly half. Not genetics, not diet, just dehydration. So, what's the advice? What should someone do right after waking? First, water, room temperature or warm, not iced. A full glass before coffee, before pills. You're rehydrating your brain, not just your mouth. That hits harder than I expected, because I think of how many start the morning with coffee and nothing else. No water, no pause, just straight to caffeine and cortisol. So many do it. It's what almost everyone does. But your brain doesn't want stimulation first. It wants circulation. And that doesn't start with coffee, it starts with hydration. Makes perfect sense. What I love about this approach is it's not about fear, it's about function. It's showing how to help your brain do what it's already trying to do. Exactly. The body wants to heal. The brain wants to flow. We just need to stop interrupting it. Let's move on. What's the second morning habit that raises stroke risk after 60? The second habit is something almost no one talks about, but I see it constantly in older patients: sitting too long in bed before moving, staying seated, scrolling the phone, or staying still for 20-30 minutes without circulation. After 60, your blood vessels are less elastic. If you go from lying down for hours to sitting motionless, especially without movement, blood pools in your lower body, slowing its return to the heart. This reduces brain perfusion. For those with plaque or clot risks, it can be a trigger. That's unexpected, because we think lingering in bed is restful. But you're saying it's a vascular bottleneck. Exactly. The heart has to work harder to recirculate pooled blood. If blood pressure spikes or a clot has formed in a leg, those first movements can send it upward. I've seen strokes happen in the bathroom because people went from lying down to straining without a proper transition. So, what's the safer alternative? Wake up slowly but move early. Rotate your ankles while still lying down. Flex your toes. Then when you sit up, do shoulder circles, neck rolls. Stand gently. This gets blood moving upward safely, gradually. Even 2 minutes of light movement can set up a much safer morning. Such a simple change. And again, not scary, just smarter. This is what longevity really means. Small moments, big impact. Let's talk about habit 3, because I know this one hits almost everyone I know, especially retirees. Yes, the third habit raising stroke risk after 60 is skipping breakfast. Not a big breakfast, any breakfast. Too many older adults wake up, drink coffee, take meds, and eat nothing. They say they're not hungry or they're trying intermittent fasting. But after 60, this can be risky, especially for the brain. Why? I thought fasting was healthy. Fasting has benefits in younger bodies with stable blood sugar and strong hormonal rhythms. But after 60, the body is more prone to hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, and when that happens, the brain suffers first. The brain runs on glucose. It doesn't store much. So if you're already dehydrated and then don't eat, you're setting up a perfect storm for dizziness, brain fog, or worse, a vascular event. Especially if you're on blood pressure or diabetes meds. That's a big point, because I know many seniors, myself included, take pills in the morning and don't eat for hours. It's one of the most dangerous combinations. Many stroke cases I've seen in patients over 65 involved skipped meals, meds, and stress instead. I recommend a small, protein-rich breakfast. It doesn't need to be big, half a boiled egg, a spoonful of yogurt, a few soaked nuts, just enough to stabilize blood sugar and tell your brain it's supported. That's a change we can all make, and it's doable, even with low appetite. Exactly. It's not about appetite, it's about circulation, stability, and rhythm. This really lands, because for years I thought skipping breakfast was discipline. I even felt proud, like I was doing something healthy. But now I see it's not discipline. It's denying the brain what it needs most, when it needs it most. Many seniors, especially men, see breakfast as optional, but after 60, nothing's optional when it comes to circulation. That brings us to habit 4, rushing into stress. This means checking news before your feet hit the floor, reading emails at the table, or arguing with your spouse about the day's schedule before you've even had water. It's a problem because your brain, post-sleep, is in a fragile state. It hasn't fully shifted to cognitive mode. Your cortisol is already peaking. Your blood pressure is naturally rising. Adding mental tension at that moment amplifies physiological stress. A 2015 study in stroke followed over 93,000 people for a decade. It found those with high psychological stress early in the day were significantly more likely to have a stroke, even controlling for other risk factors like age, smoking, and blood pressure. Worse, the risk was higher in those over 60 and highest in the first 3 hours after waking. So, when you wake up and grab your phone or dive into the day without space, you're piling pressure on pressure in a body already at its edge. Instead, create a buffer, 10 quiet minutes, stretching, a walk, or just sitting with your tea. Still, give your brain a chance to stabilize before loading it with tasks. This isn't a luxury. It's neurological hygiene. That study shook me. I thought stress was just emotional, something you feel, maybe vent, and move on. But knowing it physically primes the body for a stroke, especially first thing in the morning. Changes how I see every notification, headline, or rushed conversation. Now we're at the crux. You said early on that the last habit might be the most dangerous and most ignored. So, let's talk about it. What's the 5th morning habit that silently raises stroke risk and still flies under the radar? For so many seniors, one word, but it underpins all the others: immobility. I'm talking physical inactivity, waking up and spending the next hour or two sitting in bed, at the table, on the couch. No real movement, no circulation, just stillness. I think we're all guilty of this, especially after retirement. You wake up, pour coffee, maybe read the paper. It feels normal, even healthy, like you're easing into the day. But you're saying this stillness could be dangerous. Yes, especially after 60. Your blood is already more prone to clotting. Your veins don't push blood upward as easily. Without movement, your vascular system slows. Your legs become pooling zones, and that's where most clots start. We've seen this in hospitals for years. Post-surgical patients who stay sedentary have a sharply higher risk of deep vein thrombosis. But what many don't realize is the same risk applies to every day. Seniors, you might not be in a hospital bed, but if you sit for long stretches right after waking, your body doesn't know the difference. That's sobering, because we associate danger with doing too much. But this is the opposite, the danger of doing nothing. Exactly. A circulation study followed over 8,000 adults over 60. Those spending more than 9 hours a day sedentary had double the stroke risk, even if they exercised later. Why? It's not just how much you move, it's when you move. So, the first hour after waking is the window. It's the window. Move early, and you kickstart circulation. You tell your body the day's begun. But if you stay still, your body assumes it's still, resting. That stagnation, though it seems harmless, becomes one of the strongest predictors of stroke later in life. So, what's the fix? Nothing extreme, no treadmill, no sweat. Just 5 or 10 minutes of light mobility. March in place. Roll your shoulders. Stretch your arms overhead. Walk to the mailbox. Tell your blood it's time to flow. Because when blood flows, the brain thrives, and when the brain thrives, the whole body follows. This brings it full circle. We started talking about strokes. something most see as sudden. But what we've shown today is that warning signs and risk factors build quietly, starting in the smallest, most ordinary parts of our day: how we move, what we skip, how we start our mornings. Exactly. Health after 60 isn't about dramatic changes. It's about steady awareness. Your brain doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for attention. That's what I hope everyone listening takes away today. You don't need a new supplement or gadget. Just stop ignoring what your body's been trying to tell you all along. What did you think of this video? If you found it helpful, leave a rating from 0 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback is key to knowing if we're sharing info that truly makes a difference. Also, share what city you're tuning in from so we can see how far this advice reaches and how many are learning to protect their health. If this episode inspired you to care for yourself, comment "I choose health every morning" to show your commitment to a healthier, more mindful lifestyle. Before we go, check out related episodes to dive deeper into today's topics. Listen to the end to care for your well-being. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to catch our next episodes. Thanks for staying till the end. See you in the next one. Big hugs and lots of health.